welcome to our Eritrean reborn doll course in how to paint an ethnic reborn doll of color. This is already lesson 6. Can you believe it? We went from an empty doll kit like this to a doll like this. Well, not totally. In this lesson we are going to insert the eyes and seal the paint in place and also matte the doll so that the paint will stay in place, it's durable and it won't come off again. This doll is still a little bit empty, as you can see. So I'm also going to teach you how to paint beautiful realistic eyebrows on your doll to complete the doll's face. I'm so excited. Let's get started. Oh, and wait, if you like this video and you're going to learn something more, if you're excited to learn in this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. You're going to need 3 of your brushes, 2 wand tips, a bowl of water, your sponge and your matte varnish. If you want a dewy look, you can use matte varnish only. If you want a very matte look, you can add some matting powder to your varnish. Grab a big scoop of varnish and put it on your aluminum foil. We're going to start the way we've always painted. Right now is the time that you can still take out some leftover dust that has been collecting on your doll. After the varnish layer, that's not possible anymore. So just check your doll to see if there is some leftover dust. I can see some things in here. I'm going to take them out. Let me put my brush down. Take them out with my wand tip first. Take all of all of the dirt or pieces of paint of anything that collected on your doll. Take it all off. And just take the time for this step. Okay, then keep it close and get a big scoop. We're first going to do a little base layer all over the face, and after that we're going to apply some skin texture. But I'm going to show you how that works in the end. But first, a thin layer all over the face. Dab it nice and smooth. This is very important. So if you dab it perfectly, you won't see stripes anymore. And you'll see the matting process is already starting. Okay, the other side and the cheek. You can see this is rough. It might look a little white, but this will actually dry very translucent, and it's very important to reach all of the creases, all of the places, so everything gets sealed and matted at the same time. That is the nice thing about this matting stuff, is that it seals and mattes at the same time. So again, the places where my sponge can't reach, I dab. All right, the other side. You see that normally we first did the back of the head and after that the face, but I want to be sure that the skin texture connects. So that is why right now we first do all of the face, and then we continue to go to the back of the head, because I want to prioritize the face. All right, and of course the neck below. And again, every time you think you might see a piece of dust, this is your time to take it out. You cannot do that anymore once it's dried, because it seals in not only your paint, but also the dust, and we don't want sealed in dust. All right, it's time for the back. So with paint, I said it's very important to have thin layers, but with matte medium, it's okay if they're not very thin. But obviously you have a limited amount of the medium itself, so be careful. You don't want any thick white stripes, so not as thick as that you will see white stripes, but just a thin layer. But it doesn't matter that much if you go a little thicker. This medium is actually very high quality. I said medium, but I meant this matte varnish is actually very high quality. So you will technically only need one layer, but I like my dolls to be very matte. And since we make dolls of color, I would advise that in the end, when the whole doll is finished and your layer of varnish has dried for about a week, or you can still add another layer in the end. But let this one dry first and then see. Well, I took a little bit too much. But that doesn't matter. We're going to make some skin structure on the forehead just by dabbing with our brush. And at first it will look white, but after a while you will see that it will dry translucent. So we want some structure, so we're not making stripes, but we're dabbing it on exactly like this, so that the skin will look even more realistic. We don't want to dab off all of the structure. You want it to be visible on the cheeks a little bit as well. This will add to the overall realism in the end. And connect it to your face, to the other parts of the face. Okay, now don't put it on the back. Let it dry straight up. Before assembly, you don't really have to let it dry for a few weeks, but I let it dry for at least a week before I assemble the rest of the doll. Okay, look how cute she already is. Okay, now our baby is drying. I will show you with the other doll how to insert the eyes. It is very important that the doll is completely dry and sealed. And the matting must have dried at least a week long, so that if you're going to squish the doll around, you won't break the paint. Alright, you're going to need a Stanley knife or another sharp type of knife. I like this knife, and let me show you how to insert the eyes. To be honest, this is a little bit hard. I find the inserting of the eyes the hardest part of the whole painting process, because we don't have a lot of space. But I do have some tips and tricks on how to make it easier. So if this is your doll, inside the doll there are little dots like this, little round things, and those are the eye sockets. But as you see, it's very hard to reach them, so we're going to cut open the neck as much as possible, but be aware to not cut into the neck. So, well, let's see. So first we're going to feel how far we can cut, and then let's just cut off a piece. Ooh, be careful for your own hands. I'm not saying I'm using the best technique. And then you can feel how far from the neck it is. Well, this is pretty close to the neck already. So, well, then we know how much we can take off. And then feel again where you've got some space to cut off some more. Because we want a hole that big that we can put our hand in. Yes, so now we can put 3 fingers in, which is a lot easier. Now we can reach it to insert the eyes in a little bit. First, you're going to make a hole in the eye socket, and let me draw it for you so you can see how. Some people do a square, but I think that is harder. The easiest way to do it is to cut open half of it, but not in the middle of the hole, but at the sides of the hole. That is what you're going to cut. Can you see it? Yeah. Be careful to not cut inside of the other side of the kit, because you don't want to cut into the eyes. So now let me show you. When you've got a brush and you push inside of the eyes, you see that the hole opens, and that is where you're going to insert the eye. But first, let's cut open this eye socket in the same way. You've cut. Again, check it by pushing into the eye. Yes, it's open like this. Now, with eyes that are totally round on the back side, it's easier to insert them. So we're going to act like as if they're round by inserting a little bit of toilet paper. This way you can hold them a lot easier. I use toilet paper and not stuffing or something, because this is stronger and tougher, and it's not that soft, so you can have a firm grip on it. Now, what I do is I take the eyes in like this, and I insert my 2 fingers. If this is the hole, you've cut this part, you're going to insert the eye like this. And then when the vinyl grabs the eye like this is the eye where it's open, you're going to push with your finger, whoops, the eye into the hole. I mean, you get it? So this is what you've cut, and you're going to push it like this. But since we cannot insert our hands like that because the hole is not big enough, we're going to hold it like this and push it like that. To make it easier, I open the eye with my brush like that, and I hold it with my 2 fingers. I hold it open, and then we're going to insert the eye. Okay, do you see it coming in now? You can see it coming in. Yes, I'm pushing. And there it is, the first eye. Woo! Okay, now we're going to do the other side as well. So again, open it. Okay, can we see it come in? Can we see it get in? Get in. Yes. And there we have it. 2 eyes in there. And since we stuffed them with toilet paper, they are filled nice and full and firm. So what you can do to seal the eyes is grab some glue and glue it on the back of the eyes where the slit is. Look at the difference. I think it's amazing. Before we paint the eyebrows directly onto the doll, we're going to practice how to paint them. Just as I explained about the rest of the painting, we're always starting with depth, and the details come later, because depth and contrast will make sure that there is realism, and the individual hairs is what we see later. First we see the whole image of the face, so that is why we're going to focus on how to paint and how to draw eyebrows first, and what the shapes are that we can find in the eyebrows, and later we're going to add the individual hair strands. Okay, first let's study the shape of the eyebrows of our reference picture. So this is Sarah, and since we are using her picture, we are going to create the shape of her eyebrow. So I want you to practice to create the shape of the eyebrows. And I want you to know that it's not supposed to be precise. What are the most important things you see is the darker parts. So first let's focus on the darker parts. First the darkest parts, and then around the darkest part we can build some more of the shape. And again, I'm not painting individual hair strands yet. It's just the difference between the dark and the light. So the darker part, and we see some little hairs in here. See, in here. And a little bit in here. So we make a difference between the dark part of the brow and lighter part of the brow. Now, if you've done that, you can use a pencil. It doesn't have to be a black one. And we're going to go over it again. First line, the darkest line. So we're practicing recognizing the shapes of the eyebrows that we're going to draw on first. And then the other dark line. See, it's this line that you're drawing. And then you can look at the lines that are all connected to that one. So they're going like this. See that? And on top of this line, there are some smaller hairs like this. And a little more that's not very interesting, but. And we see that she has some left hairs in there as well, and some on the top. But the most important part is the darker line in here. And you're like, well, this doesn't look realistic yet. That is true, but it's very important to practice where the lines are. Okay, first we've tried this line, and there are some tiny lines going up to that line. And oops, above the line as well. It's like almost there's a line like this, see, in here. So there are some hairs like that, and then we can see some hair in there too. And she has a little bit of a shadow of hair coming on there as well, closing towards the nose. These are the eyebrows that you see. I will ask you to practice them a few more times. You can practice them with pen or with pencil, whatever you like. If it helps, you can also draw a shape of where the eyes are going to be roughly. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to look realistic at all. It's all about practicing where the eyebrows are going to be. If this is still too hard for you, you can also start by overlining your reference photo. So search for the biggest line first. See? And the thickest line here as well. And then connect it with all the hairs you see on the picture. Do you see that? That those are the most important hairs at first. And I see some in here as well. And we're going to do the same on the other side. As you see, this is roughly her eyebrow. And once you have copied them like this, it is easier to try to paint them and draw them again. So draw them as many times as you want. Make it easy for yourself until you're like, okay, now I think I've got it. So this is the easiest shape you can find. So if I oversimplify it, we see this shape on the right, we see this shape on the left. We see some stripes coming up to the corner in here. And here as well. And from half of the eyebrows, the stripes are going down. This is if I oversimplify the drawing of the eyebrows, this is what you see. So you can almost separate them in two parts. The part that has hair that go that direction, from the nose to the ears, for example. And then there are the hairs that flow down more. Also more from the head, from the top of the head towards the ears. You see what's happening? This is the direction that the hair is going. And let me highlight one more time the most important line, and half of them has hairs going up that way, half of them, until half of the eyebrows there's hairs going that way. From the other half it's going up, down, and in here up, down. And then of course we can add more details, because we'll see some more like this, or maybe some more like that, or a little bit more here, and as you can see them a little bit there. Those details are less important when you've got the basic shapes of the eyebrows. Okay, let's try it with paint before we do that on the doll. Take 50% matte medium with 50% burnt umber and go over the shapes that you've just done, just to practice how it is using the brush like this. See? And then when you've done that, you're going to do the other shapes to do the individual hair strands. I'm doing this quickly now just so it is a little bit of a practice, because we're just doing some exercise to see how it works painting with a brush. Once you've done it like that, you can also start with the easy one, of course. Let's see if you can do it without the pencil. So first you're going to do both of the thick shapes as you've seen in there, and then you're going to, with the edge of your brush, you're going to create the individual strands. And in here as well. And then we can add some more. Don't have too much on your brush, because that will make it a little bit harder. And the other side as well. This is just to practice how and to feel for yourself how does this paint flow on a small little brush. When we are going to paint on the doll itself, don't be scared. We're starting out very thin like we did in here, and if we done a few layers of this thin color, it's like a sketch. Only then we will continue with a darker color. We're going to first map out where the eyebrows are. This doll has an eyebrow place that is a little bit curved, but hers is a little bit upward. So this part will be on the thick part and this will be above the thicker part of the eyelid. So it will be like that. So first we're going to just sketch out very lightly where the eyebrow is going to sit. Alright, you'll barely see that. We're going to do that on the other side as well. So this is the thick part as we just practiced. The first line as we just practiced on the doll. This looks weird, but don't worry, trust the process. So first we're going to accentuate the line that we just did and paint some small individual hairs toward that line. And above as well. And this will be barely visible, but it's just to map out where we're going to paint the dark parts. And yes, I am placing my hand on the doll because it's not sticky anymore and we already sealed it in. I hope it's visible. You're going to use some pure burnt umber. And first add the line where it's supposed to be. We will add some blue to the burnt umber, which is going to help. But see, if I take some more, this does work. Towards the thicker line that you've just made. I dab it a bit so we don't see any blotches, because we don't want that. So this is the thick line, the basic line. And then we're going to add the extra strands. And when it's too thick, you can easily take it off with your finger. And we've drawn this, which is very thin, but above that I can see some tiny little other lines, so we're going to paint them on as well, but they are a little bit lighter. And in here as well. Well, you don't see it anymore. Painting eyebrows is definitely very hard. If you really want to learn how to paint them more professionally, there are lots of tutorials on YouTube that you can follow that are more precise than the one that I give you here. that are just focused solely on eyebrows. Alright, let's do the other side. So, first the space that we already made, this one line. Oh, that is too thick. The one line like that. And then it's hard to record and paint at the same time. But I'm going to try. And then make the tiny hairs going up there. And I dab them a little. And then the top here with her is thicker. So you see, when I make a line a little bit too thick, I just simply dab it off with my finger. This is why we've sealed, one of the reasons why we've sealed in the painting beforehand is because we can now touch it easy with our hand without making it blotchy, or I hope my face is not in the without making it blotchy or without making it collect dust in there. I think that is pretty. We're going to mix a bit of darker color with phthalo blue, 50% and 50% burnt umber. This will make more of a black or a darkish gray. And with that, we're going over the darkest parts. So this is the darkest color we've used just yet on our doll. That's a bit too much. Yes. And up there we have some darker stripes too. So never forget the tiny hairs. This is just an extra step, so I use a little bit of the light and I add some tiny little hairs like on top of the eyebrow here. This will make her look even more real. Now I have the same black. I'm going to go over the space where the eyelashes are one more time to accentuate that. So not the whole eyelid, only the place where the eyelashes are going to be rooted. This will give her a little bit more contrast and a bit more, even more realistic look. Look at her, how cute! The eyebrows have dried. We're going to seal them one more time, just like we did with the rest of the face and the inside of the eyes, of course. Once your eyebrows have dried, it's time for a last little bit of matte varnish, because we have to varnish the eyebrows too, of course. A bit from the lid. Well, this is more than enough. And I also use a little bit of matting powder on top of it, just for this extra matte look. Swirl and twirl until it's right. Still some matting powder on my fingers. Okay, and then dab it onto your eyebrows. And I like to have some more skin structure in the middle. Look at that. This way I can still add some skin structure too. Dab it just a little, because we don't want all the structure to be gone. And since we've done the inside of the eye one more time, we will have to matte that too. Carefully, don't matte the eyes themselves, just the inside. Alright, well, just some more skin structure, because I think that gives some realism. And now let it dry. Look at your beautiful little girl. I think she is so precious. Wow, can you believe how far we've come already? Our little Claire or Sarah, she already has little eyebrows. She has all the details on her face, beautiful eyes. I'm so proud of you, and I hope you are very proud of yourself as well. And if this was the first time you've ever made a reborn doll of color, this is not easy. It's actually very hard to learn new things. So if you're learning new things, be proud of yourself and tell yourself how amazing you are, because you are, and you're trying, and that is all that matters. If you want to encourage other people too, or just simply want to see other people's process, you are invited to our private Facebook group, where we encourage each other and stimulate each other and help each other grow and make beautiful dolls of color. In the next lesson, we are going to start with the arms, and I'm going to explain you everything about the skin, about hands, about wrists, about where the veins are, and all of that other good stuff. So you don't want to miss that. I'm very excited to get started on Claire's arms. Will I see you there? Bye!